Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. Let's begin today with a somber reminder, and that is every one of us, myself included, is capable of making poor judgments. Or sometimes we manage our emotions in a less than ideal way, or we miscommunicate, or we make decisions that later on turned out to be very unfortunate decisions. We have a word for that. It's called our humanity. We all have that human dimension that says that we're a mixture of pluses and minuses, good ingredients and not so good ingredients, and healthy individuals will acknowledge that, they recognize it, they take ownership of it, and then their next thought is, how can I make certain that this has not become central to who I am? Let me make certain that I learn from whatever mistakes that I've made and move forward. Sometimes the poor decisions or judgments that we make might arouse actual true guilt, and we need to have enough of a conscience to let that true guilt speak to us. Other times it's not a matter of guilt, but it's just like, man, that just didn't work out well. Any way you look at it, though, as you're a healthy individual, there's a notion that says, I can do better, I will do better, and I'm looking forward to the ways that I can make restitution for whatever has not gone well. Now, you know where I'm going with this. Let's contrast that with the mind of the narcissist. They operate on an entirely different wavelength than healthy individuals. First and foremost, they just cannot admit that they're faulty, that they actually do make blunders. They don't have a natural inclination toward humility. They have no particular appreciation for the impact of some of their poor decisions upon you. And they're just basically pessimistic by nature. And so instead of them saying, I need to take a look at who I am and how I can make improvements in myself, they instead will think, how can I get off the hook whenever I err, and fast? And so they blame, they accuse, they throw up walls of defensiveness. And so many of the primary indicators of their narcissism comes to the forefront at those kind of times. They refuse to accept personal responsibility. They got to stay in control. They have to stay in the superior position. They're highly manipulative. And then all of that becomes a perfect recipe, if you will, for scapegoating. That's what narcissists tend to do whenever there's something that's gone wrong. Who can I use as a scapegoat? Now, when you begin thinking, what's going on? Why do narcissists want to find a scapegoat? Somebody that they could put the blame on for some of their own problems. Why do they feel such a need to do this? Now, the first thing I'm going to mention is, I'm going to state the obvious, and that is they want to avoid being exposed as wrong, or perhaps we can even take it further. They want to avoid being exposed as fraudulent or corrupt. Narcissists carry a great deal of hidden shame. Way back in their developmental years, they came to the conclusion, being honest about my humanity and my mistakes and blunders is not going to work out well for me. And so they were on the receiving end of a lot of judgment, and they learned that if you allow other people to see you as being human, then it's going to be bad for you. You will be condemned. And then, of course, they carry that thinking around and they project that onto you, but that's very much a part of their deep psyche. A second thing that we can say as to why narcissists have to have a scapegoat is, in their minds, if they accept responsibility for something that wasn't ideal, it leaves them feeling emotionally naked, if you will. It's like, well, my entire veneer that I've worked for decades to maintain is going to be compromised. Narcissists are deeply committed to their false self. They have to portray themselves as something much better than what they really are, as if somehow that gives them an advantage. And it doesn't work, but nonetheless, they have to have that cover of their own false self. And then a third reason that they tend to have this need for a scapegoat is, to them, relationships are a game, or maybe we can go a little bit further and say relationships are part of a compensation. And so in their mind, whenever there's a competition, in their mind, whenever there's something wrong and there's the possibility of them being singled out as the one who initiated the wrong, they've got to compensate for that possibility. And so they look for a designated loser, which allows them to become the winner. And that, of course, is where the scapegoat comes in. Now, a fourth thing that we can say as to why they need this scapegoat is narcissists are famously incapable of managing awkward emotions. Or we might say they're incapable of managing flaws. Whenever there's a feeling of embarrassment or guilt or shame, or maybe somebody's feeling angry, it's like, I don't know what to do with that. They operate with what I refer to as trained incompetence. In other words, they've never been trained to have a competent, capable skill set to draw upon. There's just so much, I don't know what to do, or that doesn't make sense, that becomes part of their foundation, their basic ineptitude. Then, in addition, I used the word projection just a few moments ago. Another reason they want to have a scapegoat is they do make a heavy use of projection as part of their defense mechanism. They'll see in other people what they don't want to have to come to terms with inside themselves. And so a part of their defense mechanism is to keep the focus elsewhere, and that's where that scapegoat is. And then finally, another reason they need a scapegoat is the whole thing about power. Narcissists feel powerful when they can find someone or even contribute to someone being powerless. And so in their way of thinking, it elevates them. And as a result of that, they don't have any particular compassion or empathy or patience when flaws or mistakes are out there. It's like, no, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to prove my own power position. So by choosing someone to become a scapegoat, actually, it's its own enormous form of gaslighting. They're trying to keep relationships into confusion, but in doing so, they're revealing much about who they truly are. One of the things we can say is that in their necessity of finding a scapegoat, narcissists reveal that they have low self-esteem. Narcissists reveal that they're psychological weaklings. Narcissists reveal that they're psychologically lazy. They don't want to have to put in the work. Narcissists reveal that they're unable to be objective. It's all about their own subjective needs and preferences. Narcissists reveal that they have no particular comprehension for another person's inherent worth. Narcissists reveal that they're constantly in a compensation mode for their own struggles with long-standing inferiority. Narcissists, in their scapegoating, reveal how power hungry they are. They somehow think that makes them a true somebody. Narcissists, in their need to scapegoat, reveal that they are on the run from authenticity. It's like, you are not about to see the true side of me. All I'm going to do is just prop up smoke and mirrors. That's what I do. Hardly ever will a narcissist admit it, but their need for a scapegoat implies self-loathing. What they're implying is, if I have to talk about my mistakes, if I have to talk about my guilt on something, I can't do that. I hate that side of myself. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and deny that it even exists. I hate my own imperfection. I hate my humanity. That's really sad, isn't it? And they've been trained to think this way, and it's so indigenous to what they are that they're unable to get away from it. I'm hoping instead, as you and I are able to see the pathology in this pattern that they find themselves in, that we can each on Team Healthy decide, I accept myself as a mixed bag. And as I do that, I'm also going to seek how to honestly minimize my negatives, but it requires me to have to acknowledge them. In addition, I'm going to seek to build up my positives, and I want to be a healing presence with my own fellow humans. I want them to know that I'm human and I allow you to be human too. Let's work on this together. So the narcissist says to all of that, it's a whole lot easier just to find someone else to blame and shame. Did I mention they're psychologically lazy? Did I mention they're psychological weaklings? Keep that in mind. Now, I know that there are times when you get so exasperated when you're on the receiving end of the immaturity that these individuals bring to the equation, but I'm hoping that videos like this can give you a good idea of what you're dealing with so that you can move forward in your own growth efforts despite their proclivities to the contrary. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Gus and I will keep more videos coming in your direction. I genuinely appreciate you allowing me to be a part of your journey. If you have a need for therapy, and I know that many of you have taken us up on this, but we're sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com. They're a whole team of licensed professional therapists, and they can assist you in that regard. And so if that's something that you would need, that I would strongly encourage you to go through the link that we have below that would take you to that. Likewise, we have my therapeutic courses, and these are meant to stimulate and spur you towards the cleaner alternatives to what the narcissists want to throw at you. Each course has multiple videos and written documents and guided questions. Ready, set, connect. This is me, free to be, and we have links below that will describe all of those for you. We also have my webinars. In addition, we have our Surviving Narcissism podcast, my books, my website that has plenty of articles on there. So lots of resources for you. Okay. Narcissist is like, don't look at me. I don't want to be blamed for anything. It's like, all right, I get you. That psychological laziness, that psychological weakling, I know where you're coming from. In the meantime, I'm hoping it's like, well, that's too bad for them. They're unable to be authentic, but I'm hoping that as you see this, it just gives you that much more of a commitment to honor yourself, even in the midst of your humanity. And it can spur you towards the growth and the maturity that the narcissist will never be able to match pitch with you on. But I'm hoping it poises you or positions you to be a person of true peace.